We'll guide you through how to use GitHub Pages. If you find this useful, then consider subscribing and liking the video. Now, Pausa is going to continue with the video.
Now, before we jump into actual step, let's take a moment to understand what GitHub Pages actually is, since knowing that will make everything in this video make a lot of sense. GitHub Pages is a static site hosting service built directly into GitHub. The word static here is important. It means there is no server-side processing happening behind the scene. You won't be running something like a database-driven backend for a framework that needs its own dedicated server. Instead, everything being hosted is simply HTML, CSS, and your JavaScript can absolutely reach out to other services and API to pull in data or power interactive feature. GitHub Pages just is not able to run a backend server directly on its own infrastructure. And if you are building your site using a modern front-end framework like React, Vue, Angular, you can still use GitHub Pages. You will just need to run your own project, build step first, and then upload the resulting output file, or alternatively set up an automated build process using something called GitHub Actions, which we will actually touch on later in this video. With all of that context out of the way, let's get into actually deploying a real project. For this walkthrough, we are going to use a video editor portfolio site that I built called GuideRealm. So I'm just gonna go ahead and open my folder and open the index file. So it is a simple project, just an index HTML file, a style sheet, and a JavaScript file that powers a filterable project grid and clickable detail panel. And now you can see it is saying built by GuideRealm. So I'm just gonna go ahead and close this. So the first thing that you need to do is have your project uploaded to GitHub. So just go ahead and open any browser to your liking, and then just go ahead and search for github.com, and here make sure you are signed in with your account. After signing in, just go ahead and click on plus new, and here give your repository a name. So I'm just gonna name it something like Real Portfolio. After that, I'm just gonna go ahead and toggle on readme and create a repository. And now just go ahead and click on the add file and choose to upload your files. Here, just go ahead and choose your file. Now we get to the folder where you have your file, which in my case it's a desktop, and here is the editor portfolio. I'm just gonna go ahead and open it and select all of them and choose to open. And now just wait for it to finish uploading. And then once uploaded, just click on commit changes, and now you will land in this interface. Just make sure your project has already been uploaded to GitHub repository, since GitHub Pages deploy directly from repository that you own. Once your file are sitting in a GitHub repo, we are going to move forward. Just go ahead and click on the settings icon at the top, and once you are in the settings, look at the left hand sidebar until you find a section labeled as pages. Just go ahead and click on it. This page is where all your GitHub Pages deployment options live. Under the build and deployment section, you will see deploy from branch. Just go ahead and click on the drop down, and here you will see two options. The first one is going to be deploy from branch. If you select deploy from a branch, you will be asked to choose which branch should represent your live website. In most simple project, including my portfolio that I have created, you will only have a single branch called main. So just go ahead and select that. So in my case, here is the branch. So I'm just gonna go ahead and select main, just like so. You will also be asked which folder within that branch to serve your site from. Since our project keeps everything at top level, we will leave this set to root. Once you have made this selection, just go ahead and click on save. Here is a small but useful trick worth knowing. Sometimes after saving, GitHub does not automatically kick off as build on its own. If that happens to you, simply switch the branch selection to none, just like so. And after that, click save and then switch it back to main. This little toggle is often enough to force GitHub to recognize the change and freshly trigger a fresh deployment. So I'm just gonna go ahead and save it just like so. And after that, I'm just gonna set it once again to main and then click on save. Now let's look at a second method, using GitHub Action workflow instead. If you just click on the dropdown for source and choose GitHub Action, GitHub will suggest a handful of ready-made workflow based on common framework, things like Next.js, Jekyll, or simple static HTML. To see the complete list of available options, just go ahead and click on browse all workflows, and here you will be able to see all the workflows. Since my RealCraft project is built with plain HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, I'm just gonna go ahead and select the static HTML workflow option. So I'm just gonna go back. Just go ahead and click on configure, which opens a workflow configuration file directly inside GitHub. This file already contains the necessary permission along with the build and deploy instruction needed for a specific framework. In most cases, especially for a simple static project like ours, you won't need to modify anything here at all. Simply commit the file as it is. So just go ahead and click on commit changes, and here you can leave the commit message to Copilot and then click on commit changes. Committing this workflow file triggers your very first automated deployment. To keep an eye on its progress, click over to the actions at the top. Once it completes successfully, you will notice a green check mark appear beside it, confirming that build finished without any errors. Now, whichever method you choose, deploying from a branch or through GitHub action, once your build finishes successfully, head over into your repository settings. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go to settings and then just go ahead and go to the pages section, and near the top you will see a message confirming that your website is live, and here it is, and it will also show you a exact web address that is published at. That address will generally follow the pattern of your username followed by .github.io followed by / and your repository name. Just go ahead and click on that particular link just like so, and there it is. Your website is fully live on internet. So now try clicking through your project or trigger the detail panel. So I'm just gonna go ahead and see if everything is working properly, and you can see now it is working properly. And I can even click on get in touch and it will prompt me directly into my email, and here you can see everything is working properly. And now let's test it in another website. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go to the address bar and press Ctrl C to copy the URL and open Microsoft Edge. And now in the Microsoft Edge, when I press Ctrl and V key on my keyboard and press enter, you will see it will successfully open in Microsoft Edge also, which means it is now working properly. So I'm just gonna go ahead and close this. One important detail worth remembering is even if your GitHub repository itself is set to private, the resulting published website through GitHub pages will still be publicly visible to anyone with the link. So if you are hosting something sensitive, that's an important distinction to keep in mind. Now, if you would like your site to live at a custom domain that you already own rather than default github.io address, GitHub makes that fairly straightforward too. Just go ahead and go back to your GitHub, and now in the pages section once again, you will see an option for custom domain. Here, enter your domain name exactly as you own it, something like yourwebsite.com, and just go ahead and click on save. And as for me, I don't have a custom domain, so I'll just guide you through the steps so you can follow along. After clicking on save, GitHub will then automatically check whether your domain's DNS settings are correctly configured to point toward GitHub pages. If everything checks out, you will see a green checkmark confirming that it is ready. To actually connect your domain though, you will need to configure a couple of DNS records directly through whichever company you registered your domain with. GitHub's documentation covers the exact record needed for this step in more detail, so it's worth checking if you are setting your custom domain for the first time. Once you have your custom domain successfully verified, be sure to check the box labeled as Enforce HTTPS. This secures your site with a free SSL certificate, which is what allows visitors to see that reassuring padlock icon in your browser address bar, confirming that connection to your site is secure. And that's basically it.